But when you're ready to make a permanent change, you're gonna know that because you're done living life a certain way. I was done working for someone for X amount of years and absolutely done with it. That's why I've never gone back, because I was ready for that change. You can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped, and that includes yourself. So when you're ready to be helped, you're gonna find a way. You're gonna not be able to breathe until you can. I'm the co-founder of Fit Nation. I'm an entrepreneur. Fit Nation is a strength training business out in Surrey, BC that incorporates the mind, body, and spirit. And what we do is we incorporate systems in place to strengthen you holistically. So from the top down, mind, soul, body. What inspired me to do what I wanted to do is doing what I didn't want to do for a very long time. I used to work at a bank, and what drove me nuts was one day sitting in my office, the walls started to cave in on me. And I've always been an active and fit person. Fitness has been a part of my life since I was about 13, 14 years old. So I did a little bit of soul searching and realized what I was passionate about, because passion drives any type of success. I discovered that fitness was my passion, and I slowly started to cut back my hours at work to work on what I wanted to do. Got certified, long story short, partnered up with some of my best friends, and here we are today. In the beginning stages, since I've been peeling back layers ever since I've become an entrepreneur, layers of failure through work, that I found that through strength training, I've broken my mental down to build it up stronger. So it's not one of those things that I'm gonna get stronger, my mind's gonna get stronger. At first, you're gonna peel back layers of mental illness, layers of depression, layers of stuff that's so deep inside of you that it only comes out of you once you physically drained your body. And I have a very vivid memory of myself, first time deadlifting over 400 pounds, I broke down, started crying, because I was holding on to so much shit over the years that once my body was finally at a level that I can't take this shit anymore, I broke down. And that took me on a whole nother journey of discovering, who my grandpa was and his Air Force background and what he did in his life. And that further inspired me and my business to get to where I want to be. And that's something that a lot of people neglect. That first couple of stages is the hardest. That's the stuff that you're gonna have to deal with, the hard things, right? So I found that to build yourself up, you gotta break yourself down first. And that's what leads to true strength. You're gonna step on a ladder of failures to get to your successes. So if you're not willing to fail, and if you think you're just gonna win every single time, you're running in a rat race, you're running in a circle, a hamster wheel of either yes men around you, or you're telling yourself yes all the time. And that's not the way it's gonna work for you. Your failures are learning opportunities. And if you can't learn from them, you're not willing to take that step to success. You're willing to define your own success and make yourself feel good, make your ego feel better. A win is never a final destination. A win is something that you've kind of worked on something and it's working right. So a win is something that needs to be celebrated too. That's something that I kind of neglected for a bit, that if you don't celebrate your wins, you kind of don't let them become wins. And it doesn't have to be a big celebration, but you have to kind of acknowledge you worked on something, you got there, and now you made it a success. And that's a good thing. That same thing alternatively for losses. I don't believe L's as being losses. L's are actually learning opportunities, like I said before. They are pretty much what's gonna define your success, is your L's. And if you're not willing to accept the fact that not everything's gonna pan out and some of the stuff you are gonna lose on, then you're not ready for entrepreneurship or life in general. The biggest challenge I faced turning my passion into a business is, I'd say, acceptance around me. Because when you take your passion and you try and turn it into a business, you're a glitch in the matrix. You're going against the norm. So if everybody's a herd of zombies and they're going one way and you decide to take a left, everyone's gonna stop and stare at you. And that threatens people. That fucks people up. So what does that do to people that fucks up? They challenge you. They say, well, what are you gonna do this your whole life? I still have people tell me to this day, you're gonna do this shit your whole life? Come on, man, let's be real. Go get a real job. You become a firefighter so you can still do this part-time. Because those people don't understand that this is my life. If I stop this, that's my lifeline. I'm good as dead. That's why I left that other life and I left working for someone else and all that so I can pursue my passion. So one of the biggest things that is gonna be those quote unquote haters. And some of those people might be your closest family. And that's because they love you. They don't mean you harm either. But there's one thing about that is you gotta tune it out. It could be your mom, it could be your brother, it could be someone that you just see every so often. But a lot of the times that used to hit home, like, what do you mean? I'm actually pursuing what I love. And then I started doing some soul searching. I realized that it's actually their own insecurities that are making them feel that way. You keep doing you, because if what you're doing makes you feel good, and if you feel like that is the right path for you, don't let nobody tell you anything. If you asked me that when I first started my business, it was always about pleasing everybody. Like, oh, look, I'm doing this. Am I doing the right thing? Asking everyone, oh, am I doing the right thing? Am I making my mom happy? Am I making, my grandma happy, which are the two most important people in my life? But that stuff stops mattering, because you can't please everyone all the time, right? And it isn't until you turn take that same energy and you kind of convert it into yourself and make yourself happy, is when you can start making everyone else happy, right? So in that, I only focus on what makes me happy and what drives my passion more. And it's not always happiness, right? It's not always what makes you happy. It's what drives that passion, what puts kerosene on that fire, right? And that's what ultimately what quote unquote happiness is. And sometimes happiness is gonna make you very uncomfortable, right? Sometimes being in the thick of things, being in that 18-hour day, and putting kerosene on that fire is gonna be super uncomfortable, but there's happiness in there because you're doing what you love to do, not what you have to do. Be absolutely critical of everything that you're doing. When you're partnered up with someone, or two other people in my sense, so there's three of us, eliminating groupthink. Right? So having a devil's advocate for everything, challenging every decision you're making, no matter how big or how small, and making sure that it's not something that you're just appeasing your own ego for. That's one of the biggest enemies in business, is ego, right? How many followers do I have? How many people are viewing my videos? Stuff like that. And it's not enough about content or doing the things that your business is supposed to do. So I think that comes the biggest in terms of business decisions, eliminating ego and doing what's right for your vision and your passion. It's going to take a lot of introspective thinking and really observing your behaviors. What makes you irk when someone says something to you? What really pisses you off about that, right? Kanye West goes off on Twitter, and suddenly it rattles you up. Why? Like, what is it doing to you? Is it harming you physically? No, right? That's ego. That's like, I have to voice my opinion. I'm gonna go on Twitter and be like, Kanye is a fucking idiot, right? But no, like, what does that have? That's you appeasing your ego. So observe your behavior, observe the way you walk, observe the way you talk, observe the way you interact, and then most of all, observe the way people make you feel. Because there lies where your ego really is. And once you can start letting go of that, fuck, shit gets so much easier. Like, that weight on your shoulders gets way lighter, and you can actually make sound decisions instead of just fighting your ego, jumping from one spot to another, and you're just like pretty much a punching bag for your ego to tell you how you feel. And what a enslavement type of existence to pretty much have your ego tell you how you're gonna live. Right? And that's what you pretty much see. I was guilty of that. I only know that because I've experienced that, even as recent as six to 8 months ago, right? Don't be afraid to seek out therapy, whether that's your friends or a professional, to get someone's outside opinion on how your brain's actually working, what your thought process really is, right? You're not the only person that's had any of these problems. We live in the age where we're lucky we have the internet, where there's no problem out there, or there's nothing that you've been through that you're the only person that's gone through. Get out there, look. And thing is, be ready for that. Some people are in a stage where they need to be at a point where their ego's taken over, and that's fine. But it's until that ego starts to affect your day-to-day, your business, or even your day-to-day life, your relationships, is when you have to become ready to change. Some people try and change too quick, so they do it for 10 minutes. But when you're ready to make a permanent change, you're gonna know that, because you're done living life a certain way. I was done working for someone for X amount of years, and absolutely done with it. That's why I've never gone back, because I was ready for that change. You can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped, and that includes yourself. So when you're ready to be helped, you're gonna find a way. You're gonna not be able to breathe until you can. It's a learning state. You're in a learning state at all times, and you have to evolve as you're going. If you stay in the same stage that you're at, so when you first start a business, everything's exciting. Everything that you're doing is fucking amazing, right? Because you're having these little successes, right? You get that first couple of 100 followers on Instagram, business starts coming in, people are responding to your emails, and then what ends up happening is you stay in that infancy stage and you become complacent. So I found that being aware of your actions, being aware of what type of stage you're in your business is very important, because that's what's ultimately going to take you out of your phase and move you on to the next. There's a stat out there that most businesses fail in the first 5 years. It's about 95%. And then 90% of the ones that survive the first 5 years fail in the next 5. We started our company in 2010. We're in 2018 now, right? So being able to be aware of what stage we're in and move on from that is what's helped us get to this level and be able to survive these years, these pivotal years that define where you're going to be. So don't get complacent. Forever be learning, forever be evolving. And the day you feel like you're stagnant, you're dead. You're pretty much done. I think it was Jack Welch that said that. So keep changing, keep moving, do not get stagnant, and keep learning, because without that learning state, you think you know it all, you're in the wrong room, you're in the wrong industry. Go back to being someone's employee, because this isn't what business is for. Number 1, fall in love with reading. Number 2, find a podcast you fucking love, right? I Love Marketing, Joe Rogan podcast, stuff like that. That's Radio Lab. There's an infinite amount of information out there that you can start on. The first book that changed our business was the E-Myth. That actually lays out what it is to run a business, not work in your business, but work on your business, because that's two different things. If you're a trainer and you're only training, that's you working in your business. But if you're a trainer and you're learning marketing and you're learning how to run a business and you're learning the intricacies of systems, standard operating procedures, and trends, and pretty much where you're moving on in your business, that's you working on your business. So being critical of that. And I think maximizing what the internet is for you. I think the internet is a double-edged sword. One edge it'll cut you, one edge it's a weapon. And when you can weaponize it is when it's your tool, when it's actually something that's going to help your success, because there's a plethora of information out there. I challenge degrees. I challenge people that have MBAs, because you can learn everything on the internet. Some of my biggest inspirations never finished university. One of them's actually a carpet cleaner from Toronto that turned he's the one who runs I Love Marketing, Joe Polish, and he turned a carpeting business into a marketing business, and now he gets invited to Richard Branson's island and stuff like that. And so it's one of those things where find an avenue and explore that avenue, whether that's podcasts, whether that's books, or whatever it is. And don't think you're wasting your time, because you're going to find yourself in the middle of a book and you're going to think, what the fuck does this have to do with anything? Finish the fucking book. Because sometimes just exercising the act of learning, or just absorbing information and knowing, hey, that was not useful, hey, that was, is a tool in itself. So don't get inundated with, oh fuck, I'm reading the wrong things. Just read, learn. Even if it's learning how sneakers work or how to design a sneaker and it has nothing to do with you, you're still sharpening your tools, learning how comprehension works, right? So what I do is I try and account for every hour that I'm actually supposed to be quote unquote working. And number 2, because what ended up happening when I first started my business, I worked too many hours and I burnt myself out. You have to check out. You have to shut the lights, close the doors, lock the doors, and go do something else that is completely irrelevant to your business. Because that's where growth is going to happen. That's where your body's going to get a chance to recover. If strength training is your business, recovery is key. Recovery is going to make sure that you're able to pretty much keep loving what you're doing. Have passions outside of your business, and be able to turn off and turn on. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty hard for you to maintain a relationship for myself or with your wife or with your girlfriend or whoever it is that your significant other is, or your family, right? Always make time for them, because they're going to be your ultimate supporters. Make time for your people, right? But that doesn't mean that you do too much of that either, because you have to find that fine balance. I think balance is the answer I'm looking for, is find a balance in terms of both. The concept of competition is so antiquated. It's pinning everybody against each other. But if we just run off of the law of abundance that, hey, everyone's gonna eat, that kind of takes the pressure off. And then now everyone's working together. Imagine that. Imagine a world or a community where everybody's working together and there's 10 of the same businesses, or there's 20 of the same businesses, and everyone can eat. It's something that's never been done before. It's something that people are too scared to accept, because competition. Oh no, Nike's competition is Adidas, right? The fitness world's competition is Equinox. It's two different lanes. They're both two different lanes. Everyone's buying sneakers. Everybody's working out, right? There's so many times where we'll have someone come in from Orange Theory, and that Orange Theory would say was the first place they went to, but it just wasn't for them. Strength training is. It turns them on. right? Orange Theory killed it with they got the person up and got him into their facility, right? They're not my competition. They actually helped our industry. So hats off to them, right? Live off the law of abundance. I think that brings any community together. Look deep for your passion. If you're looking to get into entrepreneurship, it's the path of most resistance. You're gonna feel resistance from the people around you. No one's gonna understand what you're doing. Everyone's gonna think you're doing nothing because they can't conceptualize what it is to sit in your office or sit in wherever your place of business is and work for 16 hours a day. People are automatically gonna think you're doing nothing. So you're gonna feel like you're a deadbeat. But if you have passion that's fueling you, that's all noise. Everything around you, that doesn't matter. So find your passion and pursue it vigorously. Do not take no for an answer. Do not let outside noises discourage you from where you're going, because your purpose is going to be so much bigger than those noises around you, and those people will eventually come around. They'll have to, right? There's a quote that we have up at our facility that your craft is your purpose, and through the perfection of it, you change the world. And the fact that you can actually work on your craft for X amount of hours or X amount of days or X amount of years is going to be driven by passion. And without that is nothing. It's a meaningless existence, right? Without passion. And if you're, in your 18, 19, 20 years old, chances are you've experienced your passion in your life, such as I had at 12, 13. I didn't pursue it till I was 22, 23, 24. Just look back at what you love doing and you lose the hours around. Like, you've done this for, you're going to be passionate about something that you forget the concept of time around, or the fact that I would do this for free. I would train people for no amount of money. If money didn't matter, it wouldn't mean anything to me, right? Because I get such a, I don't want to say, I feel like an intrinsic reward from helping people achieve their goals. That's something that you can't monetize, nor can you measure, but it's something that you feel. Everyone's felt it. Shit that makes you goosebumps, gives you goosebumps. You hear that right lyric, Nipsey says the right thing on a track, and you're like, oh fuck, that shit hit home. That's what passion is. So if you can find what that is in your life, you'll be able to do anything for any amount of time. And I think that's the ultimate thing you need to go into business. And if you're thinking that you're gonna go into business, I'm gonna get rich, I'm gonna retire early, I'm gonna do that, you're thinking about all the wrong things. Think about something that challenges the normal concept of what retirement is, or something that you would do forever, right? Because we still have that thing where, okay, I'm gonna work until I'm 60 and then I'm gonna retire and then I'm gonna live my life. That's a very antiquated way of thinking. If you're in business, you're doing it forever. You're never ever not doing it, unless you're on vacation and then you just turn yourself back on, right? The best business owners, they don't know what retirement is, right? Because they get such an intrinsic value or intrinsic reward, out of their work or their passion.